Okay, I'm going to talk about Sherri because things are about to counselor. She's a counselor, and things are about to change for her again. And she lives in Victorson County, which is a very wealthy county, and part of their culture in that county, in Texas, is that it's ran by basically the elders. We've had some changes, especially since 2020, and basically the ones that were, they choose, the elders choose what area that maybe they were, like some of them were counselors, and they choose that to focus on in the county. If anybody has any problem with a counselor, they can come to them and tell them, and they'll work it out. They'll find out what's going on and have people investigate if it needs to be, so on and so forth. Well, with Sherri, Sherri, she's a bit of a histrionic, and they know it. These elders that used to be counselors, but she's really good at her job. Okay. Now Sherri knows, she grew up in that county. It's part of her culture. You don't mess with the elders. And now it changed in 2020 to where the counselors could be anybody from 60s and up, and people who are disabled, have some kind of disability. It just depends. People are all vetted, and they don't all become elders that make decisions for the county. They're really good, by the way, in things like investing. It's a very wealthy county, and they're all basically good, decent people. They go by the law, but they kind of sometimes get a little too, yeah, anyway. But they really are good, decent people, except for one town. But anyway, Sherri now, like I said, they know she's that, and Sherri knows not to mess with with the elders. But what they're not telling Sherri, that they have her now working for them, and they have since 2020, somewhere around there. And what she doesn't really know, she doesn't understand, is that she gets most of the bad clients, to be a counselor. Okay, she gets the ones that are like narcissistic, or the dark triads working there. The ones that are, the cluster bees, they cause problems with other people. And, like I said, she herself is a histrionic. So she's rather histrionic. So, anyway, last year, she wound up with a man named Brett. Okay, Brett he basically did make the first social media platform for Victorson County, and he was the mastermind to it, but it went to his head, and there were all these others that were working with him, and he wanted all the fame from it, which really fame, he wanted to be the center of attention. Okay, he wanted everybody to look at him, everybody to bow down to him, kind of thing, and they said nope, boot. And he got, he went through a lot of stuff, and they basically kicked him out of the good part of the county. He had choices. He could have gone to, he caused some kind of problems, and they could have kicked, made him a change of venue, is it called? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. None of that stuff do I understand about any of it, so don't take my word on it. But they could have sent him to the big city, which is 2.5 hours away from the closest part, and had him do a trial there, but he chose not to, and he had to move from his mansion to the town called the Outlaws. And it's been that way since early settlement, many generations ago. So anyway, Brett went and made his own social media platform, and he did the first one. He really was the mastermind to it. And so he did it again, and it was called the Outcast Online, because that's basically what the Outlaws town is about. It's people it can go back generations or be something new. They were kicked out of the other part. They had options, like I said, had options. Okay, now these years later, because stuff has started coming up more and more, and Brett, he's wanting to retire, and he wants to move back to his mansion. He was from very wealthy. He wants to get back. He regrets what he does. He kind of regrets it. He knows he did wrong. So, as he gets older, he starts seeing it. He wants to move back. Well, the elders that are over the, they're not quite over the social media platforms, because that is something that is a bit separate. And but they don't believe in anybody having a monopoly, and they don't. The whole town, the whole county, people are proud of that. They don't have things like chain stores, chain restaurants. They don't hire people from, to do this, that, the other that they can do themselves. They like furniture. A lot of people make furniture, and things like appliances and stuff. However, they have sent to a distribution center, which is now located right outside of the county. And they do stuff like that in automobiles and such. Yeah, but anything that they can make themselves, they pride themselves on it. Grow themselves, raise themselves, the cattle and stuff. Yeah, they pride themselves on that. They pride themselves on people can have every kind of healthcare provider right there within the. They did a lot of changing in 2020. The people had it right there in the county. And, well, they have had a problem with, the social media platforms, because they don't believe like I said, anybody should have any monopoly. And they know that Brett is wanting to sell it, and they're afraid that the people who own the other one, which is Richardson County Online, they will try to buy it. And they said, nope, that's not going to happen. So they are working kind of secretly to get Outcast Online, is what it's called, out of Brett, I said that already, out of Brett's control and into theirs, basically the elders, that would be under elders' control. And all the while not even letting the people who own Richardson County Online know. And like I said, they don't believe in monopoly. I was reading my notes again. Anyway, like I said, Brett wants to move back to his mansion in the rest of Richardson County, where it is. And it's a deal in the making, and they're making it. Okay, they're starting to work with Brett, and because Sherri, that Sherri is one of their counselors. She gets the tough cases, and she's saying that Brett's ready. Okay, Brett is ready. There are two women who are investigators who are going to be checking this out, making sure, and see if that's the case. And that's a whole separate story. But anyway, I wanted to get this part out. Today, by the way, is February 21st, 2026. My SUV says it's 59 degrees. It's here in Texas, in a suburb northeast of Dallas, and it's a big city to itself. Anyway, it's 5:48 p.m. and finally got this one done. But there's more to come, especially now that they have a lot more going on, that they're going to need a lot of people to work through. So anyway,